We're really live? This is really live. We're real live.
And no, this is not a pre-recording.
No, not this time. Hi, Brian.
Howdy.
Welcome to The Real Raw. I'm Lynn Serrano.
And I'm Brian Kelm.
And we'll be right back after this, live. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for dealing with our pre-recorded things. I do go back and I take a peek and everybody's like, oh, I missed you live. And it's like, no, you didn't, because we weren't live.
We got you.
We got you. But this time we're live. And
we fooled you. They're like, how come they're not responding back? We're not actually there.
Yeah, right. And the funny thing is we hope to be live every week till a couple of weeks from now. Yeah. We should be together. So I'm super excited.
Don't tell anybody. Let them be surprised along with myself.
Okay, yeah. We won't give a date.
What? Who is this person? What?
Yeah, exactly. So I mentioned to Brian in a quick conversation about, hey, how about words that we use that we shouldn't use, kind of thing. And then I was thinking 2 parts, and we were just talking like 10 seconds beforehand. And so I was like, we're real and raw. So we'll talk about how we feel about the topic, and then we'll go take it from there. So yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I like the idea. I think that our vocabulary and our the wording we use becomes our language. It becomes everything. And don't get me wrong. I mean, no matter how aware we are of the words that come out of our mouth, we can't be monitoring that at the whole time. Like, that's the awareness of ourselves. So it's like the language that we use on a consistent basis eventually forms our thought process, eventually forms how we look at life. And I think it's really because we all have blind spots as human beings, and it doesn't matter how much training we have in neuroscience or whatever, we're flawed human beings just by default, right? I think so many people in the world, they're like, oh man, I can't believe I make mistakes. And I'm like, well, you're going against freaking evolution then.
Yeah.
If you're not trying to, if you're going to be hard on yourself about making mistakes. And so this is one of those areas where, for the consistency, for the congruency about how somebody shows up, maybe in a moment, like you meet somebody for the first time, and this is where all those biases come in, right? The cognitive bias, the like hearsay, where it's like, somebody told me that this person is X, and the more you're going to lean into that, the more you're not even going to see the person as their original self, because of all of that commentary that was brought upon you by somebody else and how they look at life and their backgrounds, not necessarily about how you look at it, but your vision of them is already tainted because of somebody's perception. So the use of language is very, very important. But also, though, for me, I love looking at patterns. Every word is power, 100%. I love looking for patterns, and not necessarily by the same words, but also, though, is it positive or negative? Is it congruent? Does it align with their goals or what they're up to in the world? And all of that is related.
Well, and it's funny because what people don't understand, sometimes it's just a shift in words, and even sometimes the old stories you're telling yourselves.
Oh yeah.
Like Glenn Morrishower is really good when I've gone to Ken's class and I'll say, well, I've always done this. He goes, Lynn, what are you saying? And then when you look at always or never, that's an absolute word that can be inaccurate, or it amplifies a conflict that you don't realize you're not resolving because you're still saying the same story. So when you remove that, that little difference can make a huge difference. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jen. I know her.
Good to see you here.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for being here. So
I think one of the things, Jen, is that just to kind of, it's a very powerful set of words that you use, but I would add one word to it is consistency. Because anybody can be positive for a day, a moment, a year, whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, and like Mel Robbins says in her TED Talk, is that a majority of stuff in life you're not going to want to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to do it. Like every day, it's like, okay, you run into one good day and then you're like, oh, this is going to continue tomorrow. And then you're looking at all the stuff that you don't want to do. Well, where's that positivity coming in when you need it? So,
Well, for me, positivity, is needed even more at times when you need to look at the bright side of things.
mhm,
And looking at the bright side of things is knowing that there's always a bright side to everything,
correct.
and then that helps you be more positive.
Well, the crazy part about all this is that it's a mindset.
Yeah, it
You know
is.
what I mean? It's so simple. It's easy to say, but it's harder to create
Mhm.
because you're becoming so rock solid mentally, like Kevlar around your brain, so to speak, that nothing, no matter what life throws at you, you're not going to go there.
You
You
know,
know?
and you do notice that you're getting somewheres when you hear other people talk and they're talking the way you used to talk
Oh
or
yeah,
think,
oh yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, shit," like, you're like, that was a negative word, but, uh, but, all I'm trying to say is that there's no doubt about it that if you just look at what you're doing, it's just like, um, Einstein, right? And everybody else that was a genius that was working on the lights or Edison or whatever. So many mistakes. They had to go back and look at the formula of what they were doing, the recipe, and taking and realizing there must be something that they need to shift.
Right. I think that our society has a big problem on its hands, and it's kind of touching on what something that you said is that nobody wants to take a risk unless it's going to give them a result that they want.
Yeah, and
And
that's a
that's
big
not the way the
difference.
world works. I mean, we've got so much information out there and technology and all of this, but if you don't want to put any skin in the game, whether it's money, time, effort, education, I'm sorry. Like it's like somebody like I only want to do a business if it's going to be profitable. Well, that's like saying I want to learn how to. I want to lose 100 pounds without lifting weights or going out to the gym. You don't have if you don't have any skin in the game and you're not willing to pay the price, you can't get the rewards.
Yeah.
And Jen says it is hard dealing with the suicide of my BF now, but I do try. You have to try. Like you said, we are only human. We one of the things to consider, Jen, there, and I don't know the circumstances, and I know it's a very sensitive subject in our society today, right? But is what are you making up about how that suicide is impacting you?
I I wouldn't say the word makeup, what you're
But I
making
mean,
up.
what emotion are you bringing to it as if like I'm responsible or um, you know, and I don't know the circumstances.
Right.
But it's like, okay, how are you letting that affect you? Are you blaming yourself for it? Are you what is that meaning that you're generating? You
Right.
know? And it's like, okay, how much of that is being made up where I should have been a better friend or I should have been there for this person? Whatever that is, flush that out first.
Right.
Ultimately, to the point where here's what happened, here's what I made it mean.
No.
But
And
right now, if you're a little confused or if it's very hard on your heart, more than likely it's the emotion is tied in with what took place.
right.
And you can't separate the two.
Right. And the bright side right now, Jen, that I can give you for hoping as far as positivity, because suicide's such a hard thing to go through, especially when it touches you personally like that. So I'm sorry for your loss. But one thing, if you can remember, is how blessed you were to even know this person.
Correct.
Think of all the good times
Correct.
and think about, how life would have been if you didn't know that person.
Right.
And even in sadness and in depression, and Brian and I know that all too well,
Yep.
but even in sadness and depression, we would never want anyone to feel bad for how we're feeling or doing. We would never intend to inflict that. So but think of the good things right now till you heal, till you realize life after your friend, and that may help for you to look at different perspectives and different things so that you can stay positive. I mean, you said positive is a way of life. So I'm happy to know that you know that and that you're looking for that, because that's going to be your friend. And just look at the bright side of things. And I thank you for just listening to us right
Oh, yeah.
now and
Yeah.
being here. And I hope that you know that we love and appreciate you, and we're here to talk.
Well, and anything that I've ever endured is the best way I know how to keep it present, but also do something good with it. Is what are you going to do about it?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? What are you going to do from an advocacy standpoint? Now, I'm not talking big things. I'm not talking whatever. It's like what you can what you can do. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's where some of this negative talk and the verbiage that we use come in, is that you can make an impact on a daily basis about talking about, you know, a statistic about suicide or bringing it to the forefront of advocacy, right? You know,
Right.
it's kind of like when we run into the programming of the world, it's like, okay, something like this happened to us, and then we just mute what there is
Yeah.
to share.
And put it under the rug and still, but let the hurt be
Right.
there louder than doing something. So if you love this person, honor them by sharing, whether it's a hobby or something they liked or jokes or whatever. Keep the person alive by talking about all the good things that they brought to your life.
Yeah.
And I
Go
mean,
to Go.
honor the person that way, honor your feelings. I mean, I've had friends that were Christian that, you know, that were like, oh, I didn't think Christian people would commit suicide or this or that. It was that I never thought this would happen to me or in my family. But you know what? Just like cancer, same thing with suicide. You don't know who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect, but it affects us all.
Well, and if your sadness and all of that lives and dies by you, the recovery is going to be a lot longer.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
because like one of our coaches has said, whenever you're not, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but whenever you're not feeling in the right headspace, do something else for other people. You
right.
know, it's like when your mind is unsure and you don't know what to do and which way is up and which way is down, do something for other people. And so, Jen, I don't know if you're a public speaker, doesn't really matter. Talk, find groups, right, of people that recovered from suicide, right? So they don't do it again. And talk to them as far as what this made a difference for you. Like the sky's the limit in terms of what you want to make available to you in having this person's memory live on and not live and die by you.
Right. Well,
And then you're only in control of how you feel. And unless you're in a space of how you might be offsetting your burden and sadness with somebody else that their life wasn't taken as a result of this, it's a victory. So
yeah.
you can live vicariously through your friend in helping other people not make this choice that they take their own lives.
And that's why also we get where people will do the whole life celebration thing as opposed to a funeral.
Right.
They want to celebrate their life,
Right.
And that's why I'm such an advocate about people loving people while they can, because you just never know what anybody's going through. You really don't.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this, like celebration of life. If you want to memorialize the person, Jen, consider writing a story a week. It doesn't even have to have pictures or whatever, but a story a week about how this person impacted your life or the good that they put on the world, and let everybody know about it, right?
Yeah.
Not only because you're not making it about you, but you're looking at this person's life in terms of what good they did in the world and what they struggled with and overcame.
Right.
Instead of just harboring all this, because as I realized personally in my life, there's only two ways to get rid of burden, trauma, struggle, or whatever. Number one, it's like a boiling pot. You either get rid of it because it boils over and you actually share it, or it's just going to manifest inside and eat you alive.
Right.
You got a choice there.
Yeah. So, the topic as far as removing words, remove how you look at things, but look at them in a positive way. I think that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about as far as remove how I mean, you got to feel the sadness, you got to go through all that, but you got to remove the minutia of all the typical words and create something that's just amazing and highlight, and so I think you're on the road of positivity. That's half the battle right there.
One thing, Jen, is that feel everything that there is to feel. I almost died. My dad passed away unexpectedly. Feel everything that there is to feel, because then you're human. You're vulnerable. You're in touch with everything that there is to feel, because witnessing somebody die is one of the most difficult things to witness in the world. And if you can overcome that, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
But, because here's the thing, you can either face the death of your friend head on, or you can kind of harbor it like going through a detour. Like, I'm just going to crawl underneath a rock or become, I'm not even going to let this impact me or feel what there is to feel. And it's like over time, you're going to want to go through it.
Yeah.
The reason why is because, it's going to hurt. But at the same time, you look back on this years from now, if you were to take that step by step going through it, you're going to become a better person. And plus the advocacy of not only honoring this person's life, but also the good that you did for other people in the world that spared their lives. How many people do you want to help?
And Brian, that's, her being able to share that with us.
100%.
She's being vulnerable there and
100%.
authentic. And we honor that. We hold that space for you here to know that there's a reason why you came forward to share that. And I'm excited for what is to come out of your sadness.
And I just encourage you, Jen, to, feel everything that there's to feel, but don't stay. Take as much time as you need, but do not stay in the position that you're in. Do not stay in the state of mind that you're in.
We're sending love to you.
100%. Thank you for tuning in and being vulnerable with us.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I mean, we didn't know how we'd impact people, going on our third year, but yet we just love that if we have one viewer here and we're just sharing with them, we know we did what we had to do.
But I think that's a major distinction, but it's also reverse psychology.
Yeah.
If you go with an intention of like, oh, I need to see a measurement, I need to see results or whatever, otherwise, the purpose is kind of displaced. It's like, okay, then you remove the whole reason for doing it in the first place.
Right. And correct. Like I said, we just knew we had to do this, and there we went.
Right. Well, and plus it's you help the most people when you're not expecting to do anything. You know what I mean? It's kind of like like a vacation, right? If you have a vacation where you lay out everything that you're going to do from sun up to sundown, the likelihood you're going to enjoy that vacation is going to be lesser than one where you have a few things you want to do, but it's very free and loose, right? Yeah. You're probably going to find a lot more fulfillment out of a vacation like that than one that seems like work. And that's kind of the point of our show, is that we're just improvising. We might start with a topic, and I mean, heck, for all due purposes, we didn't even get to any words today. And that's completely okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But we've been very mindful with our words that we're speaking, though. And that's the thing. We're not being flippant about what Jen's going through. Right. We're taking to heart and making sure that she knows, we're sending love and being here for her, and knowing that her just, talking. I mean, hey, if she ever wants to come on the show and talk about it, we're here. We'll throw you on the thing with us. So.
And speaking of that, Jen, I need to acknowledge you for number one, waking up and doing your thing today, right? Waking up to the world but then also though, like functioning out in the world, right? Because I mean, it could be easily something that would take you down for the count for who knows how long, instead of waking up and being like, okay, no guarantees of what I'm going to get done or how I'm going to feel, but I'm going to get up and show the world what I'm made of today. And I'm going to tune into the show, and I'm going to be present, so acknowledging you for that.
Absolutely. And obviously, as far as the topic of remove words from your thing, it's like, instead of saying I'm sad, just be, I'm not as happy, I mean, there's words you could say, I'm not as happy, or I'm not feeling as good, but put the intention, because the good and the happy, or less than glorious at this moment, it's the words that are bigger, that our focus of, and our minds are always listening, our subconscious mind's always listening. So if you put those, less than glorious in there, and good, and I'm healthy, those things, your body's looking for those words and to validate them within you.
It's amazing how a subtle tweak, instead of like, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to keep the light shining for this person's memory.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Because nothing has to stop with you,
right?
But it can live through you,
right?
If that's your calling, if that's a cause that's very important to you, Jen, let you be the spoken voice for somebody that might not have any left.
Right.
And so I know I can only imagine what you're going through right now. I could only imagine, because I don't know. But what I can say is, let this person's memory be your existence, your purpose. If it's something that's very, your fulfillment for other people.
Yeah, your purpose. Let's see. He was an amazing man, but there you go. Then you are
all the more reason.
You are more blessed than most people that have never met an amazing man.
Well, and that also speaks to the story. It's like, okay, the research, I don't know what it is about suicide, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it's there might be a correlation. I don't know this because I have no research. But if somebody that feels that way about doing that to themselves and where they are in the world, how they're perceived by other people. You know what I mean? It seems like it's more a surprise where it's like, I can't believe, like, if I would have known, I would have been there for this person or whatever. It seems like it shows up in that way more than it does for somebody that is silent or
Well,
not, maybe not contributing to the world in the best way possible.
I
Right?
can tell you from all the personal suicides or connections to the people that have had friends suicide, I can tell you this: suicide is more prevalent over the more amazing people because they're put on that pedestal of being amazing. They're there for many people, they're helping everybody. But you know what's sad is sometimes they did not get enough support or help.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I've learned from speaking to all my friends that have had somebody close to them. They did not want to let anyone down. They felt that they weren't up to what standards they put for themselves, but yet they helped everybody else elevate. So
Right.
I think it's a lot of burden on those that feel, and then they get to a point where they're so hurt or people don't understand where they're at and they hide their losses or their failures, and yet they don't. So it's a lot of things that they are amazing people. They did not do that just to get out scared, or get out easy either.
Well, they deposited so much of themselves in other people that their tank went empty.
Yes, it has.
And then it's not uncommon, like this person suffered in silence. Like they could have been the most charismatic, amazing person, as you mentioned, Jen, and nobody knows because they might be the best actor on the planet, but it's usually the opposite. You know what I mean? So she said he was a giver, never felt like he could give enough, never asked for recognition, asked them to get help. He wouldn't. Yeah.
And I know that, you see, this still stands. I didn't even read that till now, and you know what I just said. It just stands to reason that my process of elimination / whatever, and that's why I say to people, the strongest people, you need to look at them and say, hey, are you doing okay? What can I do for you? It's those people that are making a difference in the world, but they feel like no one's listening. It's time for me. And I think that we all have a purpose here in life. And sometimes the purpose is to do that mission. And sometimes this is my personal thing, Jen. I hope you understand where I'm coming from in a good-hearted way here. But sometimes, and I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying in general, sometimes what happens is we don't realize how good we have something until we don't have that anymore.
100%.
Okay.
We take it for granted.
Right. So that's why I tell people, don't take people that you have in your life for granted.
No.
Because let them know how much they mean to you, because you may never have that day to be able to say how much they mean to you.
Well, and I mean, knowing in this person where this person gave everything but didn't get it back, what was it specifically that would fill that person back up?
Right.
Was it attention? Was it somebody to listen to? Was it love? Was it care? I don't know what that is. But it's like somehow that person got totally drained of everything that they had to give, and it was not being replenished.
Right. And so I think the big lesson I'm getting from today, and I know we need to wrap this up, is that your words and what you do and your actions speak louder than words, can really make a difference in someone's life. And we've heard stories where people were going to commit suicide and decided not to because someone said something that changed, that they didn't even know, but they got appreciated, or they got validated, or they got the love, or they realized, look, I'm helping somebody else, So what did Jim say?
Drained is a good word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, again, I thank you again for opening up with us and for being here with us. And, I don't profess to know how you feel. We're not here to do that.
No.
But just knowing you shared with us means a lot to me personally. And I know Brian a little bit, that I can definitely say 100% with him too.
Well, yeah, when you harbor all of that, it's you're not making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound taboo, but so many of these how somebody's perceived in the world is a reason why a lot of people are held back because of the assumptions. And if you tell somebody, oh yeah, if they were comfortable enough to share this, then all of a sudden somebody's going to run their brain through, oh, this person is this or that or whatever, versus understanding who they really were.
Right. Right.
All I can say is, Jen, after in the course of time, I have no idea when, is allow this person's light to be your driving force to help other people in this way.
Yeah. And,
If that's your calling, if that's your purpose, if that's what you want to be actively involved in so that this doesn't happen for other people, it's available.
yeah.
It's just a matter of how far you want to take it and being that advocate.
Yeah. And forgive yourself for being mad and forgive them for things. I mean, it only helps you. It only helps you.
That brings up another good point is that somewhere tied into the sadness is also though maybe feeling a sense of wrong, like what you didn't do good enough, or what you didn't do enough of, or the warning signs, or the responses that the person gave back to me, right? Is consider that you did all you could do, and it's taking that harbor away from you, that it's like it took me literally 7 or 8 years to get over my dad's death, and I had nothing to do with it.
Right.
But I felt the burden that as if like I didn't love him enough, or I caused this massive heart attack, which I did not do. Right.
Right. But that's how we see it, and we perceive it that way.
Right.
So
yeah, I will carry all the burden as long as I know he is at peace. Now he was suffering.
But remember, that word burden can be very daunting and heavy. So you may want to change that word. It's not a burden, well, remember, he's at peace right now, well, we hope.
But also, though, please don't disregard, Jen. Don't disregard the space you were for him as a friend, or whatever it might be, with this person. Don't disregard the person you were for him prior to this happening.
Yeah. Don't devalue yourself
No.
by no means. Don't defy yourself by that, because remember, we're here, human being, having a human experience, which is to foil, fumble, and fail, as well as succeed, love, and prosper.
Yeah, I mean, we can only do so much for other people.
Yeah.
And I know that as humans, we want to figure it out, we want to change it, we want to do breakthrough things, but we can't force somebody to,
Well, I need to remind myself, and Shakespeare said it well, we're all actors in each other's play, and you have to remember that things are going to play out. You're either the villain or the antagonist, or the hero, the all different things for different purposes. So we all have a purpose and things, but we have to go on to the next chapter, just like the day and the week come, and the months and the seasons and all those things.
One of the things that I want to have you consider, Jen, is when you look at contentment, right? Possibly when you get some sleep, or when you don't feel drained, whatever it might be, write down all the things within this person's honor and who they mean for you. What will make you content in relation to this person? What would make you content? Because if you've done everything, like, okay, person's not with us anymore, their spirit is with us though. How do you want them to be remembered? And what will make you content with this person to be like, okay, I'm always going to love this person, I'm always going to care for them, but what will make me content that I'm going to live their life out, I'm going to live my life out through them, so to speak.
Honoring. Yeah.
And it's like, define that for yourself, because then as you write down this list, whenever it might be, what you're holding yourself accountable to. But obviously, every time you complete something off that list, your heart's going to warm up. Because what happens commonly with a lot of people in the world, I see it all the time, is that after a person passes away, their memories, they're pretty heavy in the beginning, but then it kind of fades away unless that person really mattered to you. If that person really mattered to you, they stay with you. You know, but there's stages. I mean, like kind of drifting. You know, I've seen it from parents, grandparents. You know, just an observation. But it's like, how many people keep that person's light for who they were in the world burning bright? It's not very many. And it doesn't matter their stature, it doesn't matter. But if they impacted you, to me, it would be a duty because of all the good that person brought into the world to keep their light shining bright.
Awesome. Well, I think we're done for the day. What do you, Brian? I guess we have a couple topics for the next.
We'll start next week. We're just going to repeat our topic that was down in the bottom bar. We're going to start it next week.
Yeah, we'll change the topic on this one so everybody can see. All right, you guys. And what did you say? Oh, no, it's our honor. You're welcome.
Our honor, Jen. Absolutely.
We hope that we can help in any way. So
we hope from the bottom of our hearts that that by you sharing and being open with us, that what we shared back with you warmed your heart a little bit and made your day better than it was, or it allowed you to look a little bit deeper, instead of feeling in the space that you're in.
There's the red heart for both of us. Brian, as always, I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, you guys have a great day. And we were live today. We'll be live next week.
See you next week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.